So now your basics are cleared. The concept of was and were, you're never gonna forget it. The sentences, everything we have covered. Hello everybody, how are you all? Hope you're doing great. So welcome back to another session of learning English and improving your English with me. And today's lesson is going to be another very important lesson. So as you know that we are also covering the basic grammar concepts because they are very important for you to form correct sentence structures. I'm not saying that go and learn your typical grammar sentence structures and all that. No, but basic grammar concepts are very important. And this is going to be lesson number 2 in that particular series. Today, we are going to cover was and were. The full concept of was and were, where to use them, how to use them, and the easiest way to use them correctly in a sentence. So are you all ready for this? I'm Shivangi Gupta, your certified English language tutor, certified by the University of Cambridge, the UK. And before beginning, please subscribe the channel so that you do not forget to check out on all the lessons that I upload for you on the channel. Also like the video and share it with your friends too. Now coming back to today's video, today's lesson, let's get started with was and were. Was and were. Now these are basic concepts which you need to be clear with. Lesson number one was on is, am, are. Is, am, are also your basic verbs that are very important. So these concepts, they are very important for you to speak fluent English, because when you are forming sentences, you will not be confused what to use, what to do, and you will be speaking correct English, good English, which is very important for also becoming fluent in English speaking, getting your basics cleared, getting your basics correct. And today we are going to learn was and were. Was and were. Now let's begin with was and were. See, was and were, they both are the past tense of to be verb. They both are the forms of to be verb, right? And we use them in the past tense. Remember, whenever we are using was and were, we are going to use them in past tense. Past tense. Now that is cleared. The basic difference. First of all, there is going to be a basic difference. The basic difference between these two, that is, was is used with singular subjects and were is used with plural subjects. Always remember, was is singular, were is plural. Again, was is singular, were is plural. Now this becomes quite easy. No complexity, nothing. Was singular, were plural. Now let's look at all the rules in a very easy manner. Very easy manner so that you can remember it always. Now let's talk about was. Was is used with I, he, she, and it. So 4 subjects: I, he, she, and it. I'm going to cover everything. I is very simple. That is your I. You talk about yourself. I. So I was going to the market. I was going to the market. I was doing my work. I was not there. I was feeling really good. I was talking to my friend. So I was, with I, we always use was. Now he. Similarly, he is, for any male person, we use he. For singular male, you don't want to specify the name, you use he, right? So with he was talking to his friend. He was going to the market. He was not present in the meeting. He was absent that day. He was not feeling okay. So he was. With he, we will always use was. Similarly, she was sitting with her friends. She was playing badminton. She was reading a book. So she was. She was. It's done. Now the complex point is it. See, it We use it when we are not specified about things, like abstract things that doesn't have any kind of gender. For example, it was a beautiful day. It was a big building, right? It was. It was so cold. It was too beautiful. So you use it was. With it, you use always was. So you want to describe weather, a building, a place that is unspecified with its gender. We use it, right? It was. So with it, we'll always use was. Similarly, if you're using any singular subject, for example, the banana was rotten. Banana, it's singular, singular. With any singular subject, even if you're taking the common name or the proper name, you'll use was. With any object, singular object, you'll use was. Was. So that is the concept of was. Now let's talk about were. Now, like I've told you, we use were with plural subjects. So we use were with we and they. We and they. Plus, we also use were with you. Now, that is something you must remember because you is singular. We are talking to a person, right? Immediate, second person who is in front of us. So, with you, we will always use were. That's a rule that with you, we will always use were. It's we, they and you. With we, they and you, we use were. For example, we were having a great time. We were going to the stadium. We weren't there at the moment. They were coming to pick me up. They were not talking to each other. They were having a great time. So they were, we were. Now let's talk about you. You were looking great yesterday in that white dress. I noticed you were sitting beside Maya. Were you going to the market yesterday? So you were. We will always use were with you. Always. Remember that. Now let's also talk about how to form negatives. So was, with was and were, we will use not. I was not going to the market. And we will contract it. It will become I wasn't going to the market. She wasn't going to the market. He wasn't going to the market. So wasn't. Wasn't. Similarly, were not. They were not talking to each other. They weren't talking to each other. We weren't talking to each other. You weren't talking to me. So with you, they and we will use were. With he, she, I and it, we are going to use was. So this is how we are going to use were and was. Was and were. In past tense, remember, we use them in past tense. The basic verbs to create sentences in past tense. So now your basics are cleared. The concept of was and were, you're never gonna forget it. The sentences, everything we have covered. Was and were, your basic verbs to form sentences in past tense. Your basic verbs that you need to form correct sentences. So that's it. That was the lesson for today. Now I'm going to meet you again in a new lesson. Till then, everybody, take care and bye.